Okay, we're live.
Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our July general meeting. I'm Chester, the chair of LD11, aka South Mountain Democrats. I'm going to go ahead and dive right in here because we have a guest, Carl Gentles from MCDP, who's going to give us basically a breakdown of the destruction of the Voting Rights Act. Do I have that correct, Carl?
Close enough.
Close enough? Okay, well, I'm just going to hand it right over to Carl because he's got to be somewhere shortly after this. So I'm going to hand this off to you. That's for our Zoom listeners.
Oh, let me put this on here. Does that work? Can they hear me?
Yeah, you're.
All right. Well, thank you, Chester, and good evening, LD11 Democrats. It's been a while since I've been here. Great to see everybody. Cigna.
Even Cigna? That's what I heard in my head.
That's what you heard. So I'm the first vice chair of MCDP, and I have been given this presentation over the last month or so, month and a half since the decision came out, which is Louisiana versus Calais. And Louisiana versus Calais basically, as you'll see, gutted two major provisions of the Voting Rights Act. And it has created quite a bit of concern across the country amongst Democrats. And you'll see why, because it is a significant decision by the Supreme Court. I will start this presentation by telling you that I am not an attorney. I don't pretend to be one, and I have never been to law school. So for anybody that is an attorney, one more time, Cigna, or anybody else in here that is a licensed attorney, my apologies. But if you'd like to jump in and clean me up a little bit on some of this, I'm happy to do so, allow you to do so. So that's the backdrop. So what I'm going to talk about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, the Louisiana versus Calais decision just happened a couple of months ago, and we're going to talk about what it means for our collective voting rights. And it really is, if you have not read up on this or heard about it, it is an absolute call to action. So it is not abstract in its ruling. It is specific, and it sets some real urgency around what we need to do from here. So let's be clear about a few things. And before we get into mechanics of this ruling, I want you to know that this is not a technical adjustment to the redistricting law. This is a full frontal assault on voting rights of Black and Latino voters across this country. The rights that we have won through generations of struggle and advocacy are basically being rolled back. So the Supreme Court has now created a situation where states that try to protect minority voting power face legal jeopardy. And the states that refuse to protect it also face legal jeopardy. So either way, minority voters are in what we might call in some communities the briar's patch. So let's take a look at the case background. So this case came to be from a case in Louisiana. Louisiana is a state where Black residents make up 33% of the population. Yet after the 2020 census, the legislature drew 6 congressional districts and gave Black voters a majority in only one of those districts. That's 17% representation for 33% of the population. The federal court ordered a second majority Black district to be drawn. The Supreme Court in 2023 in Allen versus Milligan confirmed that the Voting Rights Act required states to account for race in certain redistricting contexts. And by the way, if you haven't figured this out, this is all about redistricting, right? And what is going on across the country right now as is a result of this case. As soon as this case occurred and the Supreme Court decided it, the redistricting issue started spreading across the country like wildfire. So that's why we're here. It is a voting rights issue, but it is directly, specifically about redistricting, which of course is about voting rights because it's going to delete or dilute all of our voting rights. Or the theory is it will dilute our voting rights and our voting power in districts across this country. But I will tell you later on, that may not be fully the case. So it might have a different effect than what the people that supported this effort thought it might have. So getting back to this, let's see, the Supreme Court in 2023 confirmed that the Voting Rights Act required states to account for race in certain redistricting contexts. Louisiana complied. It drew the congressional district map 6 when white voters sued, arguing the new maps were an unconstitutional gerrymander. That's what they said. On April 29 of 2026, the Supreme Court agreed 6-3, striking down the remedial map in Louisiana versus Calais, which is the subject of today's discussion. The central tension in this whole case is when a state draws a race-conscious map to comply with the Voting Rights Act, can that same map be struck down as unconstitutional racial gerrymandering? After Calais, the answer is yes. And if you want to listen to the oral arguments of the case, it's really fascinating. I'll send this link to you so you can, if you want to pass it around, or you can just Google it. The oral arguments for Calais, it's pretty fascinating. It's worth the hour and a half on listen. So here's what the Supreme Court said. The vote was a 6-3 decision in favor of the plaintiff. Bottom line, Louisiana's remedial map in Congressional District 6 is struck down as unconstitutional racial gerrymander. Jackson's dissent, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent, which was the loudest dissent and most clarion dissent on the case. She said, the case and the court now has created a catch-22. States that act to protect minority voting rights under the Voting Rights Act now face equal protection liability for doing so. Kavanaugh, his summary is the most critical, of course, here. He said, states can draw race-conscious maps, but every boundary must be the minimum necessary. Louisiana drew too broad of, they basically drew the maps too broad. And so that's why the majority basically struck it down. Now, they struck it down to a variety of reasons. That's what they said they struck it down for. The key takeaway here is catch-22. We can't, you win, you lose either way when you go forward in presenting your case. And we'll talk about that right now. So here's the legal framework. There are two doctrines in collision here. Equal Protection Clause, which is under the 14th Amendment, says that no state shall deny equal protection. If race is predominant, maps must survive strict scrutiny. We heard that earlier. Compelling interest and narrow tailoring. Louisiana had the interest, it failed on the narrow tailoring. The Voting Rights Act, Section 2, prohibits vote dilution. But Shelby County, which is the famous case prior to this, Shelby County gutted Section 5 pre-clearance, which is a major issue. Now Calais threatens Section 2 itself, the last majority federal rights tool that we had in our toolbox. So the key takeaway here, Shelby County removed the pre-map shield. Calais threatened now to remove the post-map shield. Both protections now weaken simultaneously. Are you guys following this? Okay, all right, good. So why does this matter to LD11 Democrats? and why must you respond? The stats at the top tell the basic story. 33% of Louisiana is Black, but only 1 of 6 seats are representative. The 6-3 ruling wipes that out. 43% of Maricopa County is Latino, and CD7 and CD3, that CD3 is,
We're CD3. You're in
yeah.
CD3.
okay. CD7 and CD3 are now vulnerable as well. The Legal Defense Fund calls this a direct attack on Black community political power. MALDEF warns it blocks Latino communities from translating population growth into representation. So, let me go on to the next page. So here's the impossible catch-22 that we find ourselves in. All right, the diagram captures the trap. Option A is a race-conscious, voter rights compliant map, struck down as racial gerrymandering. Option B is a race-neutral map, which ignores the Voting Rights Act, is struck down for vote dilution. Both roads lead to the same endgame: minority communities, Black and Latino, and especially LD11 loses. Arizona's CD7 is a majority Latino district. It was drawn explicitly to comply with the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, exactly the type of map that is now at risk. In Maricopa County, 43% is Latino voting, and 5.7% are Black. The 2030 census triggers a full redistricting under this new Calais rule. So for LD11 Democrats, when these districts are redrawn, representatives who support, say, Medicare, Social Security, civil rights, all of the above, we lose our seat. It's not abstract. The key takeaway here is Calais has targeted specifically districts in Arizona. So let me share a little bit more. So in Arizona, we have 27, hold on a second. Okay, 8 of the 30 LDs drawn were complied with the Voting Rights Act. One tribal district in northeast part of the state, LD6, is 63% Native American voting age. 7 Hispanic opportunity districts exist here in Arizona: LD11, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24, and 26. All of the districts were packed with heavy Hispanic voting citizens of voting age, with the lowest percentage being 47%. So you see the challenge that we have. So here are a few things that we can do as LD11 Dems, your action plans. And some of these things you're already doing, so this isn't anything brand new, but these are things you can double down on to support and help the effort, which is, number one, you can host town halls on voting rights, right? And use this, this presentation or a variation of this presentation, create your own. But the point is we need to host and make sure people know what's going on with this new redistricting issue and the voting rights issues. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about the Arizona Redistricting Commission. We need to engage them directly, overwhelmingly, because they're the ones that draw the maps. We need to build coalitions between other organizations. Any other civil rights organization working in this space, we need to build coalitions with them. MALDEF, you name it. We need to support Democratic candidates in at-risk districts, which you all do. So that's nothing new. And I think the antidote to this whole issue is voter registration and voter turnout. Because what I don't think the opposition is counting on is our side, if you will, to really redouble our efforts in these newly redrawn districts. Now, there are voters in those districts that are not voting, or we can register. The more we increase that, the better opportunity we have in those redistrict districts, at least some of them. And of course, educate members of our Democratic Party exactly on what this decision means. So this is basically a slide that talks about the redistricting commission. All right, so not every state in this nation has an IRC. We do. The IRC does provide some protections, as you see on the slide here. So it does have some relative protections. It does make it a little bit more challenging to redraw lines. Now, the states that without IRC are the ones with the largest and most exposure. They just I won't use that word. They're just out of luck because they just don't have the cover that the IRC commission or committee provides. So, interesting enough, here in Arizona, Arizona is a thought leader on redistricting. And in fact, Arizona was the very first state to put in an IRC, a redistricting commission. And that was as a result of Prop 106, which created basically fair, use that word in quotes, fair and competitive districts that would over time result in a better quality candidates and greater voter engagement. It was, in short, a good government initiative. As you see, the IRC maps it improved the effort, but it has some structural flaws. And they've redrawn maps, I think, 3 times now. Okay, improving significantly on the legislative drawn maps. As I mentioned, there are some structural flaws. We'll talk a little bit about that from meeting the fairness and competitive goals. And we talked about this earlier. The IRC drew only 5. No, we didn't. Let me reverse that. The IRC drew only 5 competitive seats out of 30 seats, plus 13 safe Republican seats and 12 safe Democratic seats. So Republicans held the edge in 4 of the 5 competitive districts that they drew. And only 2 seats, CD1 and CD6, were competitive. The remaining 7 seats were safe seats, 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats. The biggest structural issue with the IRC is its size. There are just 5 members. State legislative leaders appoint 4 partisan commissioners, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 2 seats of the 10 applicants screened for the commission on appellate court, blah, 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 are appointed. Let's see, the 4 commissioners then select a 5th, an independent commissioner. So that has still some structural issues that there are some potential reforms that we can implement. So here are some of the proposed reforms. And this comes from, this is not these are not my thoughts. This was given to me by Jay Simpson and Nelson Morgan. They both are, I think they're in the ADP Voting Rights Committee. They're just brilliant, both of them. If you don't know them, you should. You should invite them at some point to your meetings. So out of their committee, they are proposing a few reforms. The first is they suggest increasing the number of commissioners from 5 to 13 with a plurality of non-affiliated commissioners. So that would be 5 non-affiliated, 4 Democrats, and 4 Republicans. There would be a consensus vote required to adopt the final maps, required to adopt the final maps. And that would be required, hold on, I'm sorry. Okay. The applications for the commission would be screened by an independent accounting firm to create the 3 pools of qualified applicants. The final selection would be made in a random drawing out of the screen pools. The reason is that this would allow far more fairness in who gets selected to be on that committee. The legislature should be limited to exercising a small number of preemptive challenges against the screen pools of applicants as well. So this is really to try and bring some balance to what the legislature, the power that the legislature has over the appointment process. So here are what the Democratic leaders have said in response to Calais. I won't go through all of it, but you can see that obviously it's at the top of everybody's mind, from Hakeem Jeffries to Eric Holder. And of course, they are at the very forefront saying that this won't stand. We will not let it stand, and we'll be litigating this basically till the cows come home, until we get some reprieve. Some more comments around from Attorney General Holder. Here's what he said. I'd like to read at least this one. This cannot be the final word. Although the Roberts Court has tried its best to make the Voting Rights Act a dead letter, racial discrimination remains unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment. The rights won through generations of struggle must be protected. I think we all can agree with that. And so the fight continues. There are three things that we need to do right now. Number one is know the facts. Calais is real, it is not abstract, and it is in force today. We need to build coalitions that we talked about. MALDEF, NAACP, Arizona Black Caucus, Latino Caucus, you name it. We need to reach out, bring them here, get together and have the conversation and discuss some potential options to fight. So this is what I'd like to leave you with. These are just a few redistricting or a few reference maps. This map here, can you see it? Okay, this map tells you really what's at stake. You see the red colors. Those states are the highest risk states. And all of those red states have already executed or put forth some redistricting proposal. So there are really, in those states, there are 10 seats at risk. In the orange, there are 11 seats at risk, which are a little bit more of a medium risk. And then the lowest risk are the states that really don't have any color in it. So this says green, but the lowest risk are the states with no color, and then also the states with basically the gold color. If you look closely at this map, you'll see some of these states have dotted lines around them. Those states have redistricting commissions. Okay, and we talked about what the effect of the redistricting commission would be. And you see Arizona is a medium risk state, and it has the outline on it as well. All total across the country, 31 seats are at risk. And if I'm not mistaken, if not all 31 seats are African American, 90% of them are. So when the discussion turns to, well, this isn't targeting Black voters or Black representation, it's a lie.
It actually took out Jasmine Crockett. Just think about that.
There you go.
They eliminated her seat.
100%. And there's more to come. There's more to come. This just lists the seats from high, medium to low. I won't go through them, but every single state is color coordinated. So look, this is a 150-year pattern of assault on voting rights. I'm not going to go through all these, but the point is this is not new. This is another step along a long line, starting from Jim Crow in 1865 through the Southern Strategy. You guys know what the Southern Strategy is? Strategy? You do? Good. It's the same thing all over again. It's just a different name. Okay, and then it goes all through a lot of legal erosions that took place over time, and you see some of those cases. But things have really accelerated post Shelby, which was the seminal case that really kind of tipped the dominoes. And then Calais just picks up where Shelby left off. And then, of course, if you go back and you take a look at the Project 2025 playbook, you guys read that? Have you skimmed it?
I taught it.
So is this not
Yeah,
this not
this
the
is the playbook.
it's 100% the
I mean,
playbook,
just almost word for word.
word for word. In fact, if you look at the current administration, it's word for this current administration, all the way down the line from day one. All right. Again, I'm not going to go through this, but the through line is evident what's going on here. We won some, and then we lost a bunch, right? Starting from 1866. And these are just some of our sources. So that's the brief overview of this, well, you guys don't want to see that.
I mean, where is that? I need to go there. It looks fun.
That's Microsoft, not me. So, but anyway, that's the presentation. I have a few minutes for questions, comments.
So question is, in Arizona, because I'm not familiar with the Arizona redistricting laws like it was for Colorado, do we wait for the census in 2030 will determine redistricting, or is it going to start this next election cycle?
It's my understanding that the redistricting occurs in 2030,
In
Right.
2030.
all right, no matter what. But that doesn't mean you wait till 2030,
Correct.
right? That means we get started now, right? The challenge is going to be education. People have to understand what's at stake. We're in this space and we live and breathe this every day. The general voting population does not know anything about this. They have no idea what's ahead of them. So it's by LD, it's our job to make sure, at least at a mention level, did you know that this Supreme Court case has a direct impact on Arizona and specifically LD 11, right?
Yeah, I want to go back to something Carl said earlier about like how the IRC has been manipulated. So assuming like there are no reforms, which unfortunately I think it's unlikely to see any changes to the IRC, it happened in the last redistrict because the independent commissioner that was selected ironically changed her voter registration from Republican to independent, the minimum number of days that she had to do it. And again, I would say for anybody who tells you like, well, does it really matter who the governor is? Well, here's the thing is, guess who appointed her? Correct. And so Governor Hobbs in a second term, guess who she gets to appoint?
That's right. She does indeed.
It does seem that I did canvassing during the last election, the AFL-CIO, and we had a presentation on the Arizona Independent Committee. I think it gives a false sense of like security to a lot of people here in Arizona, and I think a lot of Democrats, a lot of people understand that it isn't as independent as they might think.
Right.
And I think that, like you said, there's right for corruption, there's right for gerrymandering, it's right for issues, and I think that a lot of people be educated on that. So a lot of Arizona voters like, oh, we're good. And we don't want gerrymandered, we're good. And it's like, no, things can go south very quickly. Yeah. And I think that's the issue right now. Is a lot of people don't understand that, and they just have this false sense.
Yeah, the IRC protection effectively, what I said on the slide, it has some protections. It basically gives us a paper trail, right? It opens up the process a little bit more. But states that don't have an IRC, their legislature can do whatever they want.
I mean, because District 11, we were when we were 27, we were on the kind of the target list that they were going to actually create a new district out of what's basically Levine and everything that's west of 202. And how that didn't happen is that we showed up and showed out, so much so that they actually didn't schedule the closest hearing was actually downtown on a Sunday. And so the other hearing that was going to be close by was in Mesa. And so we made such
Yeah.
a stink and like basically raised a bunch of hell that they put one over on the Cottonwood Center
Yeah.
over there. They ran another one, and people, fortunately, we got folks to turn out and like really, testify about why they need to leave 11 alone. And basically the district that we have is because we spoke up.
Yeah, and 2030 is an extraordinarily important year, obviously. So is 2026, and so is 2028. And the more Democrats we elect, the better opportunity we have to protect our voting rights and to draw stronger maps. So yeah, there's no waiting until 2030 at all. Other questions? Well, this is the easiest group yet. I mean, I literally got hammered. I literally got hammered in the last 4 or 5 I've done. So
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We
You're welcome.
appreciate what you're doing.
Breakdown is super helpful.
you bet.
Mind if we share the presentation?
What I'll do, because people have asked me that, what I'm going to do is create a summary
Perfect.
1 or 2 pager to leave behind. I don't want this floating around because,
Yeah.
attorneys like Cigna might start criticizing me.
I did see some discrepancies.
Of course you did.
That's
That's why I qualified by saying I'm not an attorney. I'm just a casual observer, very interested in the issue, just like you guys.
Yeah,
So.
that's extremely helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, you bet.
You see that mic from the, before you go start talking about Sigma.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Carl Gentles. Okay, next I'm gonna ask Greg. Greg's gonna talk about poll observing.
Well, I mean, speaking, it's a natural segue because he's here talking about that very large institutional way that they're trying to make sure that votes are not counted. I'm going to be talking about the boots on the ground here in Maricopa, how votes are not being counted correctly. So I'm assuming everybody here has voted before.
No.
No, I have to start there because there could be new people in the process. But yes, so there is an entire program for the people that actually run the poll. Typically, we call them poll workers. There is also a program called poll observers, which is an explicitly partisan job where either political party can have somebody in the polling location observing what is happening. They are not allowed to talk to people. They're not allowed to talk to either voters or to the actual workers that are there, but literally are there to observe and see if there's any shenanigans going on. Usually this is handled by the coordinated campaign because obviously they need to do this across the entire state. About 4 weeks ago, the counties were informed that actually we're doing this now. So if you haven't gotten a response to any emails that the Maricopa County, if you sent MCDP any emails and not gotten any response, that's because they've been working on this project, which is basically that Emily Wilson, our data queen, created a map of all 260 plus voting centers in Maricopa County. And the staff created Sign Up Genius links for shifts for poll observers for every single one of those locations for every day that they're open through the primary. So we're now rolling out a program to try and get people, if you're not doing anything on the day of the primary, this is a place for you to participate. If you want a job, if you're the type of person that likes to hang out at the library, this is the right job for you. You're literally not allowed to talk to people. So for my chatty Cathys, this is not the job for you. For my introverts, this is exactly where you want to be. Air conditioned, indoors, quiet. Okay. So if you did decide that you want to do that, it's a 3-step process to get involved. Step 1 is a QR code, which basically will send you to a Google form that Maricopa County has, where you just express if you're interested in observing. I'm gonna point that at the camera also.
Take a picture of it. Post it in the
Oh, you'll take a picture and post it. Look at that. We have technology.
What a concept.
I'm used to doing this at other meetings with slightly less technology. So it will ask you if you want to be a poll observer, meaning actually at a voting center watching people vote, or if you want to work in some of the tabulation side of things, actually some of the offices of the county where they're tracking ballots and verifying signatures, or both, really whatever that is. Okay. Once we get that information from you, you'll be contacted by us. There's a training that you go through. So it's basically to teach you what a poll observer does, what sorts of things you should be looking out for. Things like illegal electioneering, things like ICE appearing outside the polling location. If somebody doesn't show up at the right polling location, are they given the correct type of ballot? And your response when you see things, again, because you're not talking to people, your response is to get on your phone and contact the voter protection boiler room that the statewide campaign is running. And they will tell you what to do. And it might be, for that person, can you follow them 75 feet outside of the polling center and just get their contact information? That might be it. Or it might be, you've given us a report, we're going to handle it through official means. But you go through the training. You have to then get your official certification signed in wet ink by the county party chair, Patty O'Neill. She's done like 500 of these. This is the form that when you go to the polling location, you go to the person in charge and say, I am here as a poll observer. They will verify you. The Republicans will have a red one. I assume the Green Party, if anybody's doing this, will have a green one. I have no labels. No labels would be white because we don't label them. I don't know.
Clear. I don't know.
I don't know. Or it'll just be a transparent piece of thing because they don't actually exist and they're not a real party. Anyway, so sign up. Once you do get this form, once you go through the training, you'll be sent the link. You can see all the places that you can go. Places like we think there are those districts that Carl Gentles just talked about, 11, 22, 24, 26. If there are going to be shenanigans in Maricopa County, we expect those to be the places they are. So you guys are in the most exciting place. If you'd rather be somewhere where there's almost no guarantee of seeing something exciting happen, you can go to LD4, you can go to LD25. Like there's all sorts of places you can go to. So you can pick your level of excitement. So this is a big program that we're rolling out just because we expect that on the Republicans that they are going to be using this primary as a trial run for some of the things that they're going to do in the general election. So this is our trial run to have people in place to see what that looks like, to make sure that we are standing for the core democratic value that everybody that is entitled to vote is able to do so with a minimum of fuss. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure people can vote. I saw still looked like a question. Go ahead. Yes. Okay. Uh-huh.
I was hoping that the credentials would be like a lanyard, but apparently that is the credential.
I'm a piece of string and 2 holes, and you're there.
It's something that I made the mistake after living in Levine for over 40 years.
Uh-huh.
The Levine Baptist Church and the LDS Church.
Uh-huh.
And so now I'm just kind of wondering, what did I?
Understood. So if you are a chatty Cathy, and if you're like the neighborhood block watch leader and everyone's going to come talk to you, maybe going a little further away from your home would be the better way to do that.
Yeah, that's what I did. And I was getting calls from South Phoenix. And I was in the West Valley. They're like, you need to get down here. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of in the West Valley, so I can't come here. But I did that on purpose for the same reason.
I was looking at convenience.
Yeah.
No,
And the
you
other-
have to get out.
And keep in mind, this is
And
one
they'll still try to talk.
This is one part of what people are going to be doing on election day. It might be helping people drive to the polls. It might be actual election activity 75 feet away from the polling location. That'll be a little warmer. So I don't know, if you like air conditioning, this is the way to go. One other thing that we are starting to deal with, you may have heard in the last round of elections that happened, the first ones after Justin Heap was elected, we saw a huge uptick in signatures being rejected on mail-in ballots. The rejection rate more than tripled compared to prior cycles. In some places as high as quadrupled or quintupled. So we know we are expecting a higher level of rejected signatures, which then gets to another activity that we get into called ballot curing. If you are a person that gets email or text notifications, you probably got notified when your ballot was mailed, notified when it was received, and then there's a third notification of whether your signature was accepted or if there was a problem. But not everybody gets the text to know there's a problem. So 3 times a week, the county party is sending a list to your chair, Chester, of here's the newest list of ballots that are going to need cured. In previous cycles, we waited until after the election was done because you have a certain amount of time after to cure. We figured, no, previously we thought get everybody to vote and then we'll clean it all up later. But we know that the error rate is going to be so much higher. We are going to start curing right now. And again, you're going to probably want to build a team, 3 or 5 people that really love this kind of work, are good at it. We want to get practice in now because the general election, of course, is going to be when it matters most. Are there any competitive primaries down here? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I compared to some places with some very bitter primaries going on right now. You guys are lucky in that regard. But again, the general election is going to be so much more important for the future of our state. And this is that we have an opportunity to get the reps in to make sure that we know what we're doing, have good systems, or if it doesn't work, an opportunity to figure out what didn't work and then do better. So those are kind of the election voting stuff that the county is neck deep in. The other thing that we are constantly doing is watching for the next thing that Recorder Heap is trying to change. He unfortunately won a court battle, giving him more control over the election rather than less. And again, like we don't know what's coming. We are certain it's going to be bad. And we're trying to position ourselves to react to that as quick as possible because LDs like this are going to be the ones that are most affected. The swing districts, the places with, if they perform highly, our statewide candidates win. If they perform poorly, they don't. So you guys are going to be on the front lines of whatever that is. And we're trying as best we can to build the infrastructure to support you right now. Start, I have a question. Go ahead.
Coalition, did they give you like technology tips and ideas? Because I know when we were observers, the other side would be there with pencil and paper, and we'd have our electronic system where we could send alerts immediately to the people that would come and handle the situation. Do you guys have that?
So we do have that.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And
Because that was important because they were writing on pads and we were laughing at them and making fun of them. I might have done it. Yes, I did.
I imagine that, open-minded liberal people are open-minded and liberal about the use of technology in elections. But yes, that system does exist. The training will go through.
Yes.
Here's the phone number that you can call. Here's the
Yeah, we had it.
website you log into. So yes, we do that. That infrastructure all still exists. And again, Copper State Victory is running the voter protection boiler room, where they're basically going to have lawyers on standby all the time to address things, to make press releases, and they will communicate with you directly while you're there if you need to do something.
Question. I was looking into this too because I want to do some of the paid positions.
Okay.
Is that nonpartisan paid positions or partisan paid positions?
So the paid positions are poll workers.
Yes.
Temporary employees of the Maricopa County government.
Okay.
That is going to help do things for the election.
Cool.
You could be verifying signatures. You might be driving a forklift, carrying all the boxes of ballots. So that is a nonpartisan task.
Okay.
And oftentimes they will deliberately ask you your party affiliation.
Do you have to disclose?
So here's the thing. You do not.
Okay.
They may refuse to hire you in that instance.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might, just be like, oh, well, we'll look at your Facebook real quick. Oh, okay, we figured it out and move on that way. But they do that deliberately because they will put a person who's a registered Republican to work side by side with a Democrat.
Okay.
They will do that deliberately to make sure that there are checks and balances, even
So
among
that
the
is a
state
good thing
employees.
as well for checks and balances. Okay,
Correct.
Cool. So,
So that's why
was my big thing is
They try to suss it out.
So you probably should just disclose. So.
yeah.
And to be clear, and look, one of the things that is just the reality of our politics, Republicans are wound up because they're certain that every time something doesn't go their way, it has to be theft. So they do not lack for people that are willing to do these sorts of things. So typically, if they have it, a Republican and a Democrat. For those few independents, that usually ends up being a Republican and an independent as a way to manage that. That's just the reality of party registration. I'm gonna go that one right in the back. Yes.
But I should be making y'all do this.
Is there something specifically about mail-in ballots that make signatures reject more often than ones voted on election day?
So one of the things that Recorder Heap introduced, if say you get a mail-in ballot, all of us are used to, you put it in the mail or a drop box, it ends up there. There's literally teams of people that their job 8 hours a day is to look at a ballot and then look at whatever terrible picture of their signature they have from the DMV, or they go look at government documents. If you've ever signed, like bought or sold a house, they'll look at that to try and verify your signature. So there's that whole process. And we know that Recorder Heap has instructed the elections team to be more picky than they have before. So that's one piece of it. He also introduced a program that if you have your mail-in ballot filled out, ready to go to the mail, you can go to a polling location and go to a polling worker. Who's my polling worker? You're my future polling worker. And you can be like, here's my ballot and here's my driver's license. And that poll worker can verify you are who you are. They will stamp your ballot. Ironically, they chose to use green ink on the green envelope, which is not a great plan, but that's what they chose. And if you drop it off and it's stamped, they don't verify your signature.
That's what I do every time.
So either of those are ways that you can get a mail-in ballot verified, whichever's more comfortable for you. I know some people say, I don't trust the post office. I'm going to put it in a drop box. Or I'm going to drive it to the counting center just right down there down the street, or I'm going to turn it in where somebody looks at it and stamps it. I mean, it's technically they all should work.
Except when crazy people put something in the drop boxes and burn the ballots, like they did a few years ago.
And as a result, well, the good news is there's cameras for every drop box now. And again, this is Republicans are certain that somebody showed up with a dump truck full of fake Chinese ballots and stuffed them in.
Bamboo.
Even though it was undoubtedly a Republican also that put the fire in there. Don't confess. Don't confess. Yeah. This is a public meeting. You shouldn't do that. Anyway, so yes. So whatever way makes some, when you're doing your get out the vote conversations or talking to your friends and family, whatever they are the most comfortable with. Because some of them might be like, I don't know what all this is. I'm just going to put it in the mail. That's a valid way to vote. And actually, mail-in voting, there was a Supreme Court ruling this cycle where they specifically said that they have to allow and accept mail-in ballots within certain rules, which are the rules are inside of what Arizona does. So mail-in ballots were just upheld as legal. So again, whatever is going to get that person to get that vote in, that's the right way to do it. And everybody has their idea of what they like or dislike. So you had a question, sir?
So
yeah.
When we talk about shenanigans from the Republicans for the primaries, are we talking about voter intimidation? What are they? Because all of the above. Okay, because obviously that's going to be in heavy use come November. I'm pretty sure of that. What can we do to combat that? Like, what rights should people be made aware of who are going to show up to vote? Like, is there any, you know what I'm saying? Like, what can we do to prepare people for that? So there are many pieces to making the election run smooth. I talked about the observer role, which is standing back and looking.
poll workers, people who are actually running the voting centers, will have their own list of procedures and things. They're one of the positions on a team that runs a polling location is the person called the marshal, who's kind of the security person. They will be being a marshal might be where you want to be. I don't know that you get to you don't get a gun, to be clear. Okay. Well, but and to be
You don't get
clear,
10-star, just like
the poll workers, the nonpartisan staff are the ones responsible for maintaining the 75-foot radius of no campaigning. Apparently, there are some limitations even of what you can do outside the 75 feet. You can have an umbrella. You apparently can't set up pop-up tents. I don't know if food trucks are legal.
You can have mobile billboards within a certain radius.
There's a whole world of that the elections department should handle. And to be clear, at the county, one of our biggest allies is a government employee who's the head of elections, who's actually in charge of the elections department and has run a lot of that stuff. And literally, Patty O'Neill, the chair, has his number. They meet all the time. He's the one maintaining the security of the voting machines, the security of all that. He's operationally doing that. Justin Heap's not in there. He's not going to be in there opening up boxes. If he does, he'll be subject to the law. Justin Heap can set policies and ideas and that sort of thing, but there is a bureaucracy that implements it, and that person is incredibly nonpartisan and just wants the election to be done cleanly and fairly.
just the professionals.
Correct. Now, you will also see aligned nonprofit groups like Keep Arizona Blue, if you're familiar with them. They are organizing to get people to be outside the polling locations, handing out literature about our candidates and monitoring and keeping an eye on things out there. So there is a universe of things that are coming together. I'm speaking from the official party side of things. You guys will be talking a little bit more at the grassroots level, whatever that looks like. So there is many, many things being done, and there's what we know that they might do, and then there's the stuff that we don't know what they might do. And in that instance, having people that are seeing what's happening, know how to operate the video recorder on their phone, that's where that's going to be very, very helpful. Yes, Mr. Brown.
So a question and a comment. So
Yeah.
I'll start with a comment. For those of y'all who've been living in this district, this area for a long time, I'll say when Adrian Fontes was a recorder, y'all remember some of the BS that used to go on with we would get fewer voting centers and we get half the equipment didn't work and all this other kind of stuff. And so, obviously shout out to now Secretary Fontes to modernize the system and, kind of addressing nonsense like that. But he has not been recorded for a minute. And his predecessor, of course, did the bare minimum, which was follow the law, which I can live with. Now we've got whatever Justin Heap is. So with that being said, it's going to make it really important because this is going to be kind of, I would say, the first election with someone who is, on record as election denier, who has been doing a lot of really questionable stuff in his capacity to impact areas like ours. So, and I'm saying this even to the people online as well, it's if you have the ability to be an observer or a poll worker, please do so, especially in this area, because shenanigans don't happen in LD4. I'm just going to keep it 100. They don't. It's here where they tell, there's somebody telling folks who look official saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Yeah, the polling center's closed for lunch. You got to come back at 7:30." And I'm not making that up. That's crap that's happened in the past. People not knowing any better, they leave and they couldn't vote or drop off the ballot. But having somebody who goes whoa, that guy is just some weirdo. Go on in and vote. That stuff's really important.
Absolutely. And again, unless the Board of Supervisors finds a way to get rid of this guy, we are going to be stuck with him for 4 years. So even all the things we're doing this cycle to make sure people vote, again, it's all a trial run as well for the presidential cycle in 4 years. So, or 2.5 years now, I guess. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is one of the things that's going on. If anything that I spoke about tonight is of interest to you, scan the QR code, or if you want to help cure ballots to make sure that people that sent the ballot in actually gets counted so that their vote goes the way that they want it, Chester will be heading that up. If you need any support, talk to MCDP. Like this is pretty much the only thing we're doing until the primary's over. I mean, it's the most important thing, and how Maricopa goes is how Arizona goes. Like all of our incredibly important statewide offices, their path to victory is right through our county and districts like this.
Have we already started getting the list of rejected signatures? And how many are on it so far?
Oh, I'd say probably about 30 or 40.
Like we said, we're seeing anywhere from 3 to 5 times higher rejection rates than before. And to be clear, like 4 years ago, we weren't even doing this in the primary because we were like, it's the primary, like whatever, we'll pick it up. Like, no, we can't do that anymore. Like we have to be getting into game shape right now for the election that's coming. And again, that's, you know what, maybe you go through the training, you can only observe once, or maybe the timing doesn't work out. That's okay. That credential will be valid in the general election as well.
And also keep in mind, like a lot of those errors, because again, like you said, they're being really nitpicky. And when you think about it, some of our more vulnerable members of our community, that's going to impact them because, as you get a little bit more seasoned in life, sometimes your signature maybe adjusts or changes, or maybe hands get a little shaky. And again, if you've been voting since you're 18, signature might actually legit be a little bit different. But now they're starting to pull the whole like, oh yeah, that driver's license don't look like you anymore, that kind of stuff. So, and again, those are going to be the people who probably aren't going to be using text messages. Those are the people who may not be able to hustle down to somewhere to vote in person. I mean, that's, they're at home. They're going to mail in and hope for the best. And so they're going to appreciate that phone call.
And to be clear, like people that have done ballot curing, when I've asked them, like, how is it? They're like, oh, it's the best, because people are like, oh, my vote made enough of a difference that somebody called me. And if we know that they voted a Democratic ballot, that's somebody we want to be talking to anyway, to make sure that they're going to be voting in the general election. Or, hey, do you want to come meet some other Democrats? Come down on the second Tuesday every month. We meet all the time, Oh, wait, it's Wednesday now, isn't it? It's a crazy season for us. So, but anyway, like, again, these are some of the ground level things where we really just get to make a difference for people. And that's kind of what this whole thing is about, that everybody gets to express those American values. Any other questions? Do you guys take questions from the Zoom, or are they along for the ride?
Fortunately, I think everybody either heard or got the questions answered in the chat because MCDP's on there, so they're helping.
Oh, okay. There we go. Perfect. See? Yeah, this is what we're doing. So yeah, if I can be of any help, if you ever have questions, let me know. I'll be here through the end of the meeting.
Greg?
For those who don't know, I didn't really introduce Greg. Greg Freeman is the secretary for MCDP and the treasurer for ADP. Most charismatic accountant I've ever met. Okay, so I will go through my chair report real quick, and then I will give Catherine Miranda, who is gracious enough to grace us with her presence today, some time. Let's see, our treasurer report. Sadia, do you want to give the treasurer report real quick?
Okay.
Okay. Hand that to you.
Okay, as you can see, we kind of hit a milestone with our bank account balance as of June 30th. We finally raised over $10,000. Yeah, we have $10,000, $552.84. Last month we raised $1,000 and $316. And we got, most of them came from our Act Blue donation, $1,000, $248, but 25 of it came from our raffle online donation. And we also had $18 cash donation for the raffle. And we also got a check from Keeping Arizona Together and Engaged for doing voter registration tag, and we got it for $500. And we spent $666.05. So it was mostly monthly expenses. And I think one thing unique we spent was the Maricopa County Democratic Party. We made a donation for support so we can get support for mailer for our election season. And also I forgot to thank Representative Caveira and Councilwoman Hodge for their donation. They both donated $500. So we appreciate that. And then if you want to be a donor, we have a link. You can be a one-time donor or a recurring donor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sadia. So a few things I do want to point out here. So the reason we've hit this milestone is thanks to our local electeds, like Senator Miranda, Cavero, Keisha. This check here from Keeping Arizonans Together and Engaged, that acronym is KATE. That is Kate Gallegos PAC. Now, these large donations from our electeds are to help us hire interns, which are going to be helping with things like ballot curing, which I'm excited to not have to do myself. I'll still help. I won't make you guys do all of it.
Maybe they'll get to run out with the mic next meeting.
Yeah, and we'll let you run around with the mic next time too. So, yes, I definitely will talk briefly about them, but I want to talk first about our ballot initiatives. So, Protect Education was a success. Very excited about that. Collected over 420,000 signatures statewide. The threshold was something like 280,000, so almost doubled it. Very cool. It's enough to withstand legal challenges. So plan to vote yes in November on the Protect Education Act. Protect the Vote. I'm
Now I remember the
calling that an unsuccess.
Yeah, real quick. Remember there was like I'll call it the bootleg version of the Protect Education ballot. They actually ended up withdrawing.
They did withdraw that. Yeah, there's so many shenanigans, which we all knew there were shenanigans, but failed miserably. The Protect the Vote Act was an unsuccess, I'm calling it. Unfortunately, they narrowly surpassed the signature threshold, but it was not enough to withstand legal challenges. So you'll hear the villain's name a lot. They decided not to give the names of all the signatories to Justin Heap. They did not want this guy to know who was in favor of mail-in ballots. So I respect that, but the fight continues. There is a bill in the House that they're trying to get on the ballot that would make basically add hurdles to the ease of voting in Arizona and align our voting laws with Trump's Save America Act. So they're trying to make it harder to vote by mail. So there is a lawsuit trying to keep that off our ballot. If it does make it to the ballot, we'll put our efforts into teaching people to vote no on that. What's new? We've onboarded actually 3 interns. I did hire a 3rd intern today after I made this presentation, so I'm excited. We've got 3 people that will be helping. Dulcie and Isabel helped canvass on Sunday. They helped gather signatures for Cigna, who is going to be on the ballot. Very excited for Cigna, protecting our school board. So they'll be doing ballot curing, voter registration, and if anyone has suggestions on an event or a location where we can send them to register voters, please let me know. Events, stuff like that that's happening around the valley. Made some changes to our email hosting, which is going to save us almost $500 a year. So that's a big change, as well as our website hosting, which is going to save us $200 a year. So I'm excited for those changes. Don't forget, t-shirts are free with a $20 donation. Obama looking hot in his, of course. Yasmin holding hers up. Postcards are available for mailing or lit drops. Are we doing the raffle? We're doing the raffle. If you haven't bought a ticket, please go ahead and buy a ticket. It helps us pay for the venue. This does cost us money each month because they are a C3 nonprofit, so they cannot donate to us by letting us use their space for free. All right, that's all I had. Now, I would love to give the mic over to Senator Catherine Miranda. I'm very grateful for you being here.
Thank you. All right. Well, not much of an update. I just got a lot of updates that you just said. Carl has made me a little nervous. Greg, you gave me hope. So the balance of emotions are going on right now. You guys, we are under attack in every area, in every other area of the nation, in our state, in our LD. It's very, very worrisome that LD 11 is going to be a target or can be a target with redistricting. The Protect Education, yes, that's something to celebrate. However, it didn't come easy. As soon as the legislature ended, I took off to Mexico. I had to go detox the legislature. So I really did. I mean, it helps me stay healthy and to come back strong for you. So I did leave for a few weeks, but I get a call in the middle of the night that we could possibly have a special session. So they were still up to their shenanigans to try to kill the Protect Education Act. And so all last week I was on the phone. Should I fly back home? Is this real? So I had the flights ready to go into special session to protect this ballot. And wow, they went through a lot of tricks, It was 2048, which is the actual initiative. And then came up with an anti-union ballot, HCR 2040. And they try to trick us, like we'll get rid of a ballot if you kill the Protect Education Act. So we were curious, okay, which one are we going to negotiate here? Well, they try to put in 2040 an anti-union HCR, but just wanted to exempt police and fire and not the teachers. So in the middle of the night, we said, no, this is not fair. So it went on and on all last week. And as you all probably know now, special session was canceled, which I say, hey, let people decide. And the way we do that effectively is getting out there, having a campaign on the streets. It has to be ongoing campaign to educate the voters on what they're voting for. In fact, our legislative council is going to type up all the descriptions of the initiatives, going to let you know yes or no. And as soon as I get that, I'll hand it to all of you. So, and then door to door, handing it to people so they'll know exactly what to vote for, what not to vote for. Carl mentioned something very important as far as contacting the list of people that aren't registered to vote. That is, I think, key to our win. And I think the last thing we talked about was, did we get that list? That is so important. I mean, what can I do to help get that list? Because that's going to be key, I think.
Registered voter list is coming from yes.
Okay, and they're sharing it? Okay, good. That's good news, because that's going to put us over, I believe. I'm staying optimistic for sure. Really quick update on the legislature. Do we really want to talk about the legislature? Yeah. Let's talk about our next generation, how you're going to carry us over. Okay. No, congratulations to you. The money sure did go up. The last time I heard it, we only had like $1,000. So now 10,000. That's good. We need to keep up that momentum, and I'll continue to. I'm not opposed, so I'll give more of my money for sure. Congratulations, Cigna, on the signatures. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help, but it was good news to read it on Facebook that you made the ballot. Let's see, what else? I'm always going to update you when I'm here. But what I want to really do is just sit down with you at this table and talk. There's a lot of things going on in the nation, in our state here, because of the decisions that are being made nationally. And it's affecting each and every one of us, our families, our neighbors, our community. And I want to just be able to sit at this table and just kind of come together and just talk. I want to hear from you instead of you always hearing from me. I just want to hear from you. And, I mean, it could be personal. It could be something you're trying to help a family member with or your neighbor with. And I mean, we have a slew of resources. If I can't find the answer, I'll find the answer for you. So I want more intimate conversations with you, okay? All right. And I believe that's it. That's it for now. Thanks, Chester.
Got it. Thank you, Senator. Okay, so a few things. I kind of speed through my chair report every time, but earlier, I guess in June, I did send out 5,000 texts to registered Democrats who were not on the early voting list, giving them the information on how to vote early by mail. So a lot of these ballots that we're going to be curing are very likely people who've never voted by mail before, which is exciting. I wanted to make it easy because our district is 60% Hispanic, and we know that this administration right now, I think we can all feel comfortable saying it, they're racist, right? They're extremely racist. They're threatening to send ICE to the polls. If they do that, it will be in our district. They want to intimidate Hispanic voters. Guadalupe is probably #1 in their sights. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for these voters to vote without having to leave their homes. And HEAP is trying to make it as hard as possible for their votes to be counted. So that is why we're going to be curing those ballots.
You know what? Okay, show you how my brain works. If they're going to send ICE to Guadalupe and you can drop your ballot off anywhere, then we should encourage folks who may be concerned to find the whitest part of town and drop off the ballot.
Okay.
Just saying,
I like how your mind works.
Right? Right? We could start in there. There you go. Excellent. I love that idea. Also, the push, obviously, there's been racists in the U.S. for a very long time. It's nothing new. We were founded as a racist nation. Right now, there's a fear on the right of what's called the Great Replacement theory. Many of you have probably heard of this. It's a conspiracy theory used to explain why they're losing because they can't admit that their ideas suck, right? They have bad ideas. They refuse to change their ideas. They refuse to grow. So the only explanation for why they're losing is because Jewish money is paying for brown people to invade our country and become voters so that we can change the demographic. And of course, the color of your skin determines how you vote.
And women
So
won't date them because
what was that?
I said it. Women won't date them because of
Yes, exactly. And women won't date them because racism or anti-racism, something like that. Who knows? So I appreciate all of you for being here and for understanding the threat coming from the insecure people who can't change their ideas, can't grow. And we just gotta put up the fight. We gotta do the work, and we have to protect our most vulnerable communities. And frankly, I'm not afraid of a country that is not majority white anymore, because I don't see Black and brown people as a threat. I see them as my peers. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm not worse than anyone else. And so it's important to me to fight for the rights of everybody. And so that's my soapbox. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being here and putting up the fight. Does anyone on my board have any reports anything they'd like to share? Okay. Thank you, guys. Does anyone else have any announcements they'd like to make? Any other electeds want to say anything?
I will actually talk. I want to say thank you to the LD, everybody that came out, even my wife that came out. I was overwhelmed on Sunday. People took time out of their holiday weekend, these beauties, to come and knock doors. What happened was I had another organization that was collecting signatures for me, and 2/3 of their signatures were outside of my ward, which is bad. So we had to scramble. I put out the clarion call. The backbone right here. He has been amazing, and I just want to say thank you, Chester. You always come through. He never lets us down. He never lets us down. But you know, and my eyes leaked a little bit. Okay, they leaked a lot on Sunday because people just kept walking in, taking petitions, and we wound up. I only needed 400. We wound up with 689. So we're pretty safe. Yeah. But thank you all. I appreciate you. Isaac, who's not here tonight, does have I have a challenger, whatever. But Isaac has a challenger and we think we got him. So he possibly will withdraw by Monday or else. Is he listening? He might be on the Zoom call. Check and see if he's on the Zoom call. No, his opponent. Yes. Yes. We all are on there. And the next thing is to protect not only Phoenix Union, because I sit on the governing board for Phoenix Union. I know probably everybody knows it's the largest high school district in the state, the 4th or 5th largest in the nation. So, but we have 13 schools that feed into Phoenix Union, and MAGA and Turning Point are running slates of candidates in those school districts. I have a PAC. We're doing fundraising right now during the primary time because the other side is going to come out in full force. So we want to be able to defeat them. I have a PAC, and what we're going to do is we're going to vet candidates, make sure the right candidates that are public school supporting get on school boards and not people that are not public school supporting. And we'll do all we can do, and that it'll be a standing PAC because in 2 years we have to change the Maricopa County superintendent of schools so that I can resign and somebody else can get appointed because old people need to sit down. But anyway, thank you all. I appreciate you. More to come.
Thank you, Signa. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll do the 50-50 raffle. Let one of our interns draw.
In order to go on,
I feel bad.
Why do you feel
To
bad?
do it because I don't want people to lose. I'm
Somebody's
sorry.
gonna win.
That's okay.
Okay, do I have to say it?
Yeah.
you just do less three.
049.
049. Rigged. It's rigged. It's the only explanation for why I didn't win.
What I would do is, I would like to, am I allowed to donate it to our intern fund?
Sure, please.
So take that, make a note, secretary or the 2250 for the banner for the intern fund.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you.